Hey guys, this is podcast number 5 with of mine, Pedro Goncalves. Did I say that right?
Yeah, it's about right. It's good for an American.
All right, Goncalves. Is that better?
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah,
Nailed it.
sounds good.
He is a poker player slash investor slash uh
What comes next?
not sure. Let's say poker player slash investor.
Yeah,
We'll,
sounds good.
we'll figure out more. Go from there. So yeah, what's up? How you doing?
Man, it's good. It's way too hot in Portugal today, but it's amazing. So yeah, nothing new. No poker in Portugal now.
Yeah,
Since yesterday.
what's going on with that and why? Why did that happen?
It's basically there's this new law in Portugal, and everything should be fine, and we are not getting taxed anymore. Um, but it looks like the tax they want from the websites because they want a license and tax.
Mm.
So basically, the license is okay, but the tax is too high. And somehow I guess they just didn't think it would be this way. So we just have to wait. It looks like PokeStars wants to come back. So
So
yeah, all accounts are closed.
eventually Portugal's gonna say, "Hey, we'll charge you less and come back, please."
Yeah, I guess because they had pretty big plans. So even when Stars pays a little bit of tax, that's actually a lot of money for Portugal, right?
Yeah,
Because it's the smallest country in Europe, and so that would be a big deal for them. So I'm pretty sure they want them back,
yeah,
and PokerStars actually are interested in coming back pretty soon.
yeah. I imagine they would be. Makes
Yeah.
sense. So I guess we can kind of start with explaining, I guess, your poker career, basically. How long have you been playing for, and what stakes do you play for people who don't
Uh,
know you?
the whole evolution,
Yeah.
the whole thing. Um, wow. I guess what is that? 2015. So I guess I started like 8 years ago, 9 years ago. Played with
Yeah.
friends. Always made fun of poker players because I thought it was all rigged. never, never really believed that you could live out of this.
I didn't know the story.
Yeah, so but that was like the real beginning, and then I started reading books. I watched. It all started with Boku 87, I think,
Okay.
with
Yep.
that guy, and he granted like 60 tables or something like that, and I was like, wow, if that guy can do it, I can do it. So started playing online. It didn't work, and I started playing some live. Everybody was drunk with friends. Won like $10 every night, something like that. That's how it started. And then, yeah, and then I took it a little bit more serious because I didn't have much money. So I was making maybe like 50 euros per night. That was a lot of money back then. So I
Yeah.
thought, I'm good. I
I think
can
you're
I
the
can make
best.
money out of this. So I was going to work every day and 5 days a week, then playing at night. But only live because I thought online is only for idiots. That's never gonna work. It's all rigged. They have those programs where they can see your cards.
Yep.
So, and it stayed like that for like 3 years, maybe like two, yeah, like 3 years. And I
Oh,
was playing
you get
510.
convinced. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I played 510 live,
Yep.
so I actually played pretty high. Um, and it was spread limits. I don't know if you do you know that? Do you have spread limit?
I don't. I've heard of that before, but I don't know what that is.
So basically, it's a mix of limits and no limit. So and pot limit. So basically, you play a limit hold and pre-flop, and then you play between 10 and 20 post flop. So basically, two big blinds post flop, and between 2 and 4, and then between 4 and 8.
Huh.
Okay, so you like your second betting round is always between 4 and 8 big blinds
I
if you
see.
want to bet. So I played that for a long time because that was pretty big because you could never bet less than 4 big blinds on the turn and the river.
Yeah.
So that started to become really big, and yeah, I made good money there. And then I got back to reading about Boku, and I saw videos from Hivat Khan that he posted on YouTube where he was playing like 40 tables or something. Then I thought, man, if I make $1 per game playing 40 tables, that's a lot of money per hour.
Yeah.
So I tried it. The first year was horrible. I made maybe like 10 cents per game, and I could play like 10 tables.
Yeah.
So that didn't go very well. And then gradually just moved up. I received coaching from a very good player, Entim, by that time. He's a British guy, very good player. And then coaching from BFIS 11, which a lot of people might know. He's the first guy who made $100,000 in 1 year in only 180 minutes meals on PokerStars.
Whoa.
With $12 buy-in.
Wow.
So his downswing were like maybe 100 buy-ins.
Wow.
So I learned from him. I flew to Texas actually to meet him and the coaching. Yeah, and then from there.
You flew to Texas? How do I not know this story?
Yeah, I wasn't. No, I told you I was in Texas, in Austin, and yeah, and he lived there at that time, and so he had like a boot camp, like Space Gravy boot camp, and they all had these boot camps.
Yeah.
So I just went there because I was part of his team, so I didn't have to pay. Just paid like $160 or something for 2 weeks. So I was like, yeah, cool, let's go. And yeah, I learned from there. I was sitting next to him, and he was playing MTTs by that time. He was getting coached by some high stakes guy, which name I cannot mention. But I met that guy too, and he gave me a lot of tips and tricks that I could use to play my games, to win at my games, that I didn't fully understand back then. But yeah, so basically from
right off the bat, you kind of knew like getting coaching and help from others was just really important.
Oh yeah. I was like for 1 year struggling, playing maybe like up to $7 18 mans and 45 mans, and $8 180s. That was like the max I could play alone, and I was making maybe like 10 to 50 cents per game, which is horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once I got coaching, I still remember that because there was a World of Warcraft expansion coming out, and my best friend and me, we took like 2 weeks off just to play World of Warcraft because we really enjoyed the game, and so and he did it competitive. So basically, we played for 2 weeks straight, and I was playing poker when he was sleeping. And during that time, I made like $3.50 per game, which was huge.
Yeah.
And that was only sit-and-goes. There was not a single tournament MTT because I couldn't beat them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so coaching was huge. And then it took me another 2.5 years, or 2.5 years where I thought I'm the best to get coaching again. So I stood in front of the mirror and I was like, dude, you suck. You cannot beat anything with more than 180 people. You're just not good enough. So let's get coaching. And that's when I contacted Andrew Brokaws. And I was like, yeah, I want your coaching. And he had like a $1,200 coaching package for 10 hours or something with a lot of information and homework and all that stuff.
How did you choose coaches? How did you decide who you wanted to get coaching by?
So you were the first I actually contacted, and you said no.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, you were the first guy, and I told you, and I was honest. I didn't lie at that time. I was like, dude, I want you as a coach because your videos are great. The way you talk in your videos is awesome. It's different than anybody else. Everybody's just like blah blah blah, shove this, shove that, and you're really in depth when you talk. And I didn't understand a word that you were saying. So I figured, okay, this guy has to be good because I don't get it. So, yeah, and basically we talked, and you were like, nah, I'm not interested. And then I kept contacting you, and we were always like, nah, I'm not interested. So then the second choice was basically Andrew Brokaws. That's it. I just basically watched your guys' videos and just thought, well, is that guy good or not? Do I understand what he's saying? How is he talking about the things he's explaining? Is it clear?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you wouldn't hire a guy unless you could watch their videos?
Well, I did that along the way, and it was a disaster for me. It just didn't work. I just didn't like it.
Yeah.
Because they were, it's basically they always want like 10-hour packages. I mean, obviously, everybody wants a lot of money up front, and then the delivery usually is not that good. So when you already know what's coming, you can basically see the quality before you pay. And I think that's huge. So
Yeah.
if they offer you, for example, like a 1 hour test coaching, for example, I do that. I offer like 1 hour test coaching, and then I say, look, pay whatever you want for the first hour. If you give me $5, that's perfectly fine. If you give me $100, that's fine too. And the package starts with the second hour.
Yeah.
I think that's a very fair deal, and if you can get that, you should take it.
Yeah, that
That's the
makes
way.
sense. I should have mentioned in the intro you were a poker coach as well. Should add that to the list.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of important. So, um, I'm gonna tangent here because pretty, I think a pretty important topic. Kind of big reason I want you on. I think one of the things you're better at than vast majority of poker players is just not losing the money you make. And I feel like poker players are really awful with their money. And
Yeah.
what are some of the mistakes you think a lot of poker players who are successful making 30 to 50K a year but still end up being broke as fuck, or guys like me who make lots of money and still end up being broke as fuck make?
Well, I think people take things for granted too fast. I think that happened. When was that? Like maybe 2008, 2009.
Mhm.
When basically everybody, there are these videos on YouTube where everybody's saying, "Oh my God, it was so easy. It was actually hard to believe. It was just raining money."
Yeah.
And people were like, "Yeah, this is gonna last forever." So what I don't know if you remember, but one of the first things I told you to do is just to lock 100K for the rest of your life. Just take $100,000, lock it, never use it, never touch it, whatever. Just go to your banker and say, "Take this money. I don't want it back ever, and just keep it away from me, and give me whatever percent." How do you say that? Not tax.
Yep.
Whatever interest rate, like 4%, 5%, 6%. I don't care. Just give me that. I'm cool with it. What this provides is safety forever. So you can just go to Brazil if you want, live at the beach with your guitar, play music every night, and drink some beers. And for the rest of your life, you will not have money problems. And then just spend the rest of your money if you want. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are like, when I have a certain amount of money, I'm going to do X. When, when I'm 28 instead of 24, real estate, instead of just do it now.
Well, so I think the problem is I think it's really hard for people to get to six figures. So I guess I want to talk about one. How do you think someone needs to save up to actually even get to that point? But first, I think it would be good to backtrack and talk about your kind of history and background with investing and making and managing money. Perhaps if you want to tell the story about being completely broke and going from there, maybe you want to start there, or what do you think is like a good starting point?
I mean, we could maybe jump around a little bit
Okay.
because if we start from the bottom and then just go from there, it doesn't make too much sense. So basically, I got very lucky in my first 100K that I saved up because I sold apartments, houses, and received a percentage, like a fee. So I did that before I played poker, and I got very lucky, and I sold a pretty big building complex, and that net me something like 140,000 euros. But that was, like a one-time thing that you get in life, where you get really lucky. You're just at the right place at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
You meet the right person, and he just wants to buy, and you don't even have to sell.
Yeah.
So that's not a good example of how that works. So before that, I struggled for a long time at around 17, maybe like June. Yeah. So around that time, like summer, I told my mom that I'm going to leave home So I said, I'm gonna go. I have a friend. He's gonna help me. I'm gonna make a lot of money now.
Okay.
So obviously it didn't work. I was struggling for a long time. I didn't have the short version is I didn't have any money. I had a lot of debt because I couldn't pay at all. My friends were always supportive, but at some point, obviously, even your friends cannot pay all your bills and all that stuff. So, yeah, I mean, the beginnings of poker also were me sleeping in front of the casino on a bench with a suit on because in Germany you have to wear suits when you go to the casino.
Really?
So yeah, suit. So I had that suit on and I was sleeping on a bench, and there were a lot of nights like that. And so basically, the short story is that I was living on a lot of couches, um, sleeping at a lot of friends' houses, just really thinking I was working, because I was doing something. There was always something I was doing. It was not effective, but I didn't care because I was thinking, yeah, well, as long as I do something, something is going to change,
Yeah.
which we all know is just not true. If you're not effective, nothing is going to change. So, yeah, but I didn't understand that concept. So I just kept doing something and
What was it that you were doing wrong?
well, I wasn't doing effective things. So, for example, if you only focus on stuff that makes you money, at some point you're going to have money because you're only doing things that generate money. So
Yeah.
maybe you're not making money right now, but at some point in the future, you have to get money. So you have to make money. So basically, when you just do something, so play PlayStation today, tomorrow, go out with friends, next day, sit in a bar and for like 10 hours.
How
The
did you
next,
how did you trick yourself into thinking that this was actually working and doing something?
I think I just didn't really think about the outcome of what I was doing. I just thought that as long as I'm not sitting and not doing nothing, something has to happen. I think
Yeah.
that's what I believed. And yeah, that's a horrible mistake because basically that took me around about 2.5 years, which I'm still suffering with, uh, because I'm very tight with my money. I hate spending money on stuff that. There are a lot of stories where, for example, I wanted a new mouse for my computer so that I can grind more effective and more comfortable, and I didn't buy it for like 2 years. But then I get out with my girlfriend and I pay for €100 bill. Good food in a good restaurant, but it felt way overpriced.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of stories like that where my girlfriend's like, "Please just buy that mouse, man, please." I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. Let's do it." And still, even today, I wanted to buy a webcam, and it cost me like €30, and I just didn't buy it. Just because I was like, no, I could save that money and spend it on something else. But then I remind myself of, man, you really need this, so just buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that still comes back from that time, and I think a lot of poker players they don't have that. It's more like I have the cash now, let's spend it instead of thinking let's save some money so that I can never go back to zero. This is maybe the biggest thing that I have to offer to anyone who I talk to is just make sure that you never go back to zero. Whatever you do, just really whatever it is, if it's poker, if it's real estate, whatever, just never go back to zero.
Yeah, so I think a lot of poker players just have the mindset of I bink something, time to spend lots of money.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true.
I think that's very
And
true.
it's just really bad. But how should people reconsider their spending decisions? Like, I think that's one thing you're perhaps maybe too nitty, but you're really great about it. And I think it's good for poker players to hear the other extreme, even if you are too nitty, rather than just being
Yeah.
way too loose with your money.
Yeah, so one thing I think that's important for especially a poker player is just imagine that, I mean, we most of the time want to just play poker. This is just the truth. From all poker players that I talk to, that I coach, friends, they all they say is, I would just love to sit in front of my computer for the rest of my life just to play poker and not worry about anything, right?
Yeah, to some extent. Go ahead.
Or go to casinos and play high rolls, whatever. So the one thing that I'm telling everybody, okay, so just make sure that you can do that for the rest of your life by not spending all the money that you're making right now, but making sure that you have like the minimum level that you need so you can play poker for the rest of your life. This might be the first thing that we should tell these people, or we should tell these people. So what was your question again?
So,
Something
how
about
should people
spending.
make their spending decisions? Because
Okay. Well, again, it all comes down to understanding happiness, I think. What makes you happy. For example, if you feel that adrenaline rush when you buy a TV, right? You should not be in a situation where you can never buy that TV, because you're never going to be happy. So the problem is not how much money you're spending and in what you're spending it in. The problem is how much money compared to the money that you have you're spending. So
oh,
for example, makes sense? Or
okay, so yeah, I mean, like if someone has 50,000, spending 1K on a TV is much different than if you have 10,000, right?
correct. Yeah, exactly. So if you for example know for a fact that you get an adrenaline rush when you get that TV, or you get a motorcycle, for example. A lot of people would love to have a motorcycle. A lot of poker players actually. They're like, man, yeah, when I have enough money, I'm gonna, Wall Street, where he says that when he's rich, he wants to drive his motorcycle through Asia
Yeah,
and not worry about money. And there was a really great book, that Vagabonding,
yeah, yeah,
where he says, yeah, you could clean toilets for a month in Asia and drive with a motorcycle through Asia, and you would be fine.
yeah,
You don't need to be rich to drive a motorcycle through Asia.
yeah.
So the whole point is, just make sure that if the TV costs 1,000 and it makes you really happy and you love to play in front of the PlayStation, whatever it is, just make sure that you have enough money when you spend it to not worry about the money. Because if you have 2,000 and the TV costs you 1,000, you're gonna have problems sooner.
All right, so it's easy when you have 2,000. What about when you have 10,000? How does, how do you decide if that's good enough?
Yeah, well, again, it all comes down to what what like the minimum level is that you are comfortable with. For example, for me, I want to always have 10,000 in my bank account so I can feel comfortable for the next 6, 8, 9 months.
Hmm.
And so now a lot of poker players are like, yeah, the money is going to come in. I don't even want to think about this. I don't even want to think about how much money I need for 6 months. The problem they are not thinking about is that if you don't think about this, you're going to end up in a situation where you cannot play poker anymore. So you need to make yourself aware of the fact that it could cost you to not play poker, sorry.
Yep.
That's like the only thing I can think of that people can do, should do, and actually want to do. Why should you not want to think about what can keep you away from playing poker?
Yeah. Yeah, so you had two really good ideas with spending for me because I'm just a terrible spender. I mean, just
Yeah,
man, I used
I
to.
remember the beginnings.
I remember walking into the Gucci store once, trying on a pair of shoes, and then buying it like 5 seconds later for like 600, and the whole transaction took about 3 minutes. Just no thought whatsoever about money or anything like that. I remember I used to just travel a bunch and do a lot of crazy things. I remember just going to restaurants, spending $100, just like it was nothing. But so, anyways, you had two good points for me, which I thought was if you're going to spend something over X amount of dollars, actually think about whether it's worth it or not. And two, maybe if you're going to spend something, if you're going to spend $100, well, then you also got to put away $100 and save or invest that, basically.
Yeah, yeah, correct.
All right. So, what are the concepts behind that, or why do you think that's good?
So I think again, it all comes down to that happiness factor that I started talking about.
Mhm.
So let's start with the second thing that I told you. So when you spend $100 on something, save $100 at the same time into whatever you want. So when you do that, you are rewarding yourself for buying something. So basically, the savings aspect is obviously good, which we all, even if someone does not save, he understands that saving is good because you save for later. So you are spending money now. You're rewarding yourself. You love to spend the money. For example, you buy that TV or a new monitor for $100, and then you save the $100. So it means that you get that happiness right now, and at the same time, you do something good for your future. So you get actually two things out of one transaction,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
that happiness factor is so important. Um, the other thing is there was I think it was a German investor. He said that what he told his kids is that I think he gave them like $10 a month, pretty sure. So they could spend that money on whatever they want, and then he gave them uh, what do you call that? A purse? Is that the right name? Where you have your money in and your credit cards?
Yep. Hmm.
Okay, so they gave him a purse, and in that he had a piece of paper which said, "Do I really need this?"
Mm.
Okay, so whenever they opened it to buy something, they saw that paper that said, "Do I really need this?" first, and that made them think about what they're buying right now. And very often you will see that what you want to buy is actually not that important because you have something similar at home, or your girlfriend has something like that and you could just borrow it from her. Or for example, you want to buy the new Batman game and you can get it for $2 a day, rented somewhere online or whatever, and you could play it in 2 days and you play $4 instead of 60.
Yep.
So but just reminding yourself of, do I really need this? It's just so important. You don't need to be, for example, I think Tim Ferriss said that you don't need to be extremely disciplined. You just need to make your environment in a way that it disciplines you.
Mm.
And I agree with that because I'm not disciplined. I'm really not. I just, I just have a lot of, for example, I have a pretty big picture in front of my computer that says tilt is not acceptable. And just seeing that whenever I'm tilted is like, oh yeah, right.
Yeah,
You know,
it's just like human engineering. If you want to lose weight, it's much easier not to eat chocolate if you don't have it in your house.
yes, exactly.
It's like
Uh,
the opposite end, right?
yeah, I'm a bit more extreme. I would just put mirrors everywhere and force myself to not wear t-shirts at home. That's what I would do. And then every single
Oh,
time I look in the mirror, I'm like, oh my god,
that's funny.
yeah, that would be my way.
Yeah, I think someone had this idea of if you want to try and lose weight, you have to take a picture of yourself in a Speedo or something and give it to a friend that you trust.
Yeah, Tim Ferriss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't reach your goal, he just puts it all over social media.
Yeah, that's right. It's such a great idea. I mean, you have to be. I think if you want to be very successful in whatever you want to do, you have to embarrass yourself. I think very very often, and just be really happy about it. So there's this guy on YouTube, Tyler something, Real Social Dynamics, I think is the name. So and basically they pick up
Oh,
women.
Tyler RSD, right?
Yeah, Real Social Dynamics, Tyler, exactly. And they pick up women and do all kinds of really cool stuff that doesn't have to do anything with women. But what was that? I forgot it. No, it just said yeah, RSD Tyler. Hmm. I'll get back to that. I don't remember what I want to say about him.
Okay, so about spending, you don't think people should have an exact, you don't think people need an exact budget if they don't want to? Oh, I'm making about 3K on average, so I only want to spend 2,500 or something per month or something like that, and then calculating how much they could spend on each thing.
Well, what you're just describing, I think, is the first phase of your life. So think about it. Let's just say you live in Brazil at the beach, right? And you need $250 a month.
Is that realistic?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But let's just say 1K, so it's realistic for you.
Okay.
So you need 1K a month at a beach in Brazil, and you really just play your guitar, have friends there, and just have fun. So let's just say you get out of your money that you saved up, you get $12,000 a year, whatever amount of money that is, doesn't really matter. Why would you need any kind of savings plan, any kind of money management plan? Why would you need that? You get that money anyway. Your bills get paid anyway. So the only time you need something like what you described is at the beginning, when you don't have that security, when you don't have other assets to pay for your spendings, basically. That's the only time you need that, and I do think that you need it at that time, because you should definitely control yourself, because it comes back again to understanding that we as humans, we are not very effective if we don't make ourselves effective, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that answered your question.
No, so basically, yes, people need to figure these things out and make sure they're not spending too much.
At the beginning, yeah, exactly. But that's good, because if you do this, right, like if you make like a budgeting system for yourself, you do at the same time understand that you are in the first phase of your life. And it forces you to understand that, well, if I'm in this phase too long, I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah.
If I'm doing everything right, this phase lasts for like 5 years. That's it. And if I'm doing a lot of things wrong, then I will stay there for like 50 years until I die.
Yeah.
So just correct little by little the things that you're doing, and then you will basically be in this space for maybe 5 to 10 years, and that's it.
Okay, so most poker players I know don't invest at all. Most of them. Do you have the same experiences, and why do you think, if so, why do you think that's the case? And I guess maybe talk about the importance of investing and all that shit.
Yeah, so yes, I have the same experience. There's one thing that I can say which makes this very clear. I talked to a guy who has pretty good money in poker. I talked to him maybe like a month ago, and I basically explained him the same concept that we just talked about. So I was like, yeah, just put 100K aside and then you're safe. And he's like, yeah, but I could invest that into staking people and I could make a lot more money. And I'm like, yeah, it's not about the money, it's about safety. He's like, yeah, but I'm never going to get back to zero. I'm like, but is the chance there that you get back to zero if you continue staking and everybody keeps losing and you keep losing? And he's like, yeah, the chance is there. And I'm like, look, for me, the chance is never, I can never go back to zero. So it's not about making a lot of money. It's about never going back to zero. And this is something that people confuse. If you never spend time, for example, on understanding investments, different kinds of investments, you will obviously not understand what these investments are for. For example, the same thing with poker. If you play cash games all the time, you will not really understand how final table ICM works unless you spend a lot of time studying it.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people think, okay, because I know poker and I know the staking element of poker and investment part of poker, I do understand investments. But this is just not true. But this is what we all believe. We believe we are good at one thing and we are the best at one thing, so we are good at everything.
Yeah.
I mean, we humans are like that, right?
Yeah.
I have a lot of money, so I do everything right. And then all of a sudden the money is gone and I just don't know why.
I have a lot of money, so it means I do everything right. Yeah, that's a big one.
Right? So so basically when you investing into, there are a lot of different things that you can invest in, is basically my point. And people don't start doing it because it's so overwhelming. because you read about real estate. You know, your mom, your uncle, your aunt has a house, so you understand how real estate works. But obviously, that's not true. You know, there's so many people out there who need years to even understand the basics and not make many mistakes so that they can make money out of this. So this is too complicated, and people start doing it and they stop. Then they get into Wall Street, buying stocks. Really easy. You can buy and sell stocks within a few seconds. Wow, I can do that. Then they lose a lot of money there, and then okay, that doesn't work for me either. So they get into those things little by little, but they just stop immediately because they think, okay, this is just not for me. So they don't even start
To be
investing.
clear, though, you're not a big fan of people buying their own stocks, like picking their own stock picking.
I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah, I thought you weren't.
Well, no, it's more like you need to understand how, like, what type of person you are in terms of investing. For example, I'm not the type of person who can do day trading.
Hmm.
I'm just it's like Tim Ferriss explained one time where I don't want things to change every day. When I see things change every day, it makes me crazy. You know,
Yeah,
I sit at home in my brain, there are bombs exploding, and I hate my neighbor's cat, and you know, I just want to kill them, and for no reason, you
yeah.
know. And this is me when stocks go up and down. So I like them. I like to buy them, like Warren Buffett does, for example. I like to buy them and never look at them again.
Yeah.
And for example, like Coca-Cola stocks. You know, Coca-Cola stocks are going to do good for the next. I don't know. I hope for 100,000 years. Who knows? And it's very likely that a stock like that is going to do very well.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, but if you are the type, and also if you are the type of player or person who can take more risk, you also need to inform yourself more. That's the downside of it. If you are very risk happy and you don't inform yourself, you're going to lose a lot of money,
Yeah.
or eventually going to lose a lot of money, you know? While if you play the game really tight, you actually don't need that much information. You just need the very basic and important information and not all the information.
Isn't it best if people just invest in index funds?
If it's best,
Yeah, especially if you're just starting out, you've never invested before, you're a poker player with $5,000 to $10,000 right now.
so I would like to answer this a little bit different. Warren Buffett recently got asked what happens to his money when he dies. And he says he told all his kids to buy S&P 500 index funds.
Hmm. Yeah.
So this man is the number one investor of all time. If he says that all his money is going into S&P 500 index funds, not sure why I should argue with him.
Yeah. So to be clear to people watching, index fund is basically just a basically if you buy the S&P 500, you're buying the whole US market, like all the 500 biggest and best companies.
The 500 biggest companies.
Yep. And then there's the Dow Jones, there's which is similar, then there's Nasdaq, and then there's even international index funds, right?
There are a ton. I don't know if you can even list them in 1 hour. There are a ton of them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
all over the world.
they're all relatively low risk, low. Hold on. So they're all relatively low risk, but not huge return either, though, right?
Well, the S&P 500 averaged almost eight. No, wait, not almost. Exactly 8.7% over the last 80 years or something. 50 years, I don't know. So 8.7% is a lot.
Okay, so say I'm the typical poker player. So if I put in $1,000 into that, I'm gonna make $80. What? Why the fuck should I do that?
Again, it is like there's something that I explained to my son one time. Actually, he's 10 now, and I told him it's like you're building an army of soldiers, you know, and these little soldiers fight for you for the rest of their life. If you spend the $1,000 for your 1,000 soldiers, they're not going to fight with you anymore because you gave them away. You know, but if you if you take care of your 1,000 soldiers, they will produce more soldiers, and more of them are going to fight with you. And so there is something. Oh man, now I don't have the English word. Oh god. Um, it's an investment term. So basically,
Compounding.
compounded interest. Yeah, compounded interest. So, and that's the important part of it. So Warren Buffett one time said that he only got rich because of compounded interest and because he was very lucky.
Mhm.
And you know, over the years, because what you just explained is you're explaining basically 1 year. So 1 year I'm putting into $1,000, I get $87. Why should I do that? Makes no sense. And I agree. But you want to do this for the rest of your life. You know, you want this money to just stay there. You every year, and basically they produce more and more for you, so that for the rest of, just think of this. If you want to live, like I explained, I always take Brazil because I love Brazil. So if you want to, you lose everything, right? Whatever it is, you lose everything you have. You only, the minimum you need would be something like 200 euros a month. So that would be $2,400 a year. If you have that money every year, you can just go to Brazil. So like you just said, I only get $87 if I invest $1,000. Well, it's not that much more to just get to 2,400 for the rest of your life, you know, and be safe forever. You know, you should always think long term, and I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that people think. Okay, how do I feel today? How much money do I have today? What am I going to do today? And completely ignoring the future.
Yeah, so I guess for example, if you invest $1,000 per year, just $1,000 per year in 20 years, you'll have about 55K or something.
But there are a lot of websites where you can actually calculate that.
Yeah, I'm using a calculator.
Oh, okay. So what was that? $1,000 a year?
Yeah.
8%? 8%
interest rate? For 20 years, you get 55K, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, $54,083, basically.
Yeah, the thing now is that a lot of people think, wow, that's in 20 years. You know, so, but also you have to understand that you're only investing 1K.
Yeah, that's nothing, right?
Yeah, exactly. So if you want it faster, I mean, you should. Most people, especially poker players, should be able to invest more than 1K a year.
That's less than 100 a month, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know, so it's just all depends on how bad do you want it. You know, like, do you really want this? If you really want to, you could do this in 4 years or something. You know, if you really want to and you really work really hard, you can do this in 4 years, no problem. Even like if you only play low stakes. I mean, come on, saving 10,000 a year, living at home, you know, with your parents and not paying anything when you're like 18. And I know a lot of 18-year-old poker players, so that's really not an issue. By 22, you're financially independent. I mean, who wouldn't want that?
Yeah. Well, wait. How do you get financially independent in 4 years just by investing 100 a month?
No. I said 10K a month, a year.
Oh, 10K a year.
A year. Yeah. If you really want to do it within 4 years, yeah, you could do that.
I mean, okay. So yeah, if you invested 10K a year, right, at 8%, in 5 years, you would have $65,000.
Yeah. So if you put that into an index fund, let's just say 8%.
Yep.
That's like 4K.
What?
You get like 4K out of it, roughly, right?
Yeah.
5.2K actually. So yeah, so 5.2K. I mean, think of it. If you really wanted to, you could live in any Southern American country, like I don't know, Venezuela, whatever. You know, Brazil. No, Venezuela, not Nicaragua, right? And Brazil, whatever. Countries like that, Chile, with $5,200. I mean, you wouldn't live like a king. You know, you wouldn't have everything, but you could have your own home. You could live close to the beach. You could do whatever you wanted.
Yeah,
And
I think
that we are only talking about 4 years. We're not talking about 20.
yes. Yeah, so 10,000 a year, 4 years. I think a big thing for someone like me, when I have money, I just spend it. Basically,
Yeah.
this forces me to spend less. Like I have to spend less if I'm investing X dollars per month, you know?
Yes.
So I'm saving money and at the same time I'm making even more, basically, and capping, I guess, is a big thing you like to talk about. Like
What do you mean exactly by capping the downside?
I never get to zero, right?
Ah, okay, okay, yeah, sure, sure, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I have anything else to add to that aspect. It's just
So can people just be a novice and just put money on index funds and be likely to win and not lose?
so. Yeah, I mean, again, just watch Warren Buffett videos on YouTube. They're completely free. Just put in something like index fund Warren Buffett, whatever it is. He explained it very, very well. He says if you are not going to make any more money in index funds, the reality of what is happening then is that the American economy is going to break down, and it's all over. You
Yeah.
know? So World War IV, World War III, sorry.
Yeah.
So like if that's really going to happen, so you're not going to make any more money, it's because of that. So how likely is that? Not very likely.
And then you're fucked either way.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter because imagine a situation where you have $100 million in a bank account and the whole American economy is breaking down and the dollar is worth like 1 euro cent.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much money you have. You're fucked either way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
basically, put it in index fund. I mean, this man is the most successful investor of all time, and he's doing it. And also, there is a book Tony Robbins wrote where they also talk about index funds, and they explain. I mean, it's a very big book, and there's a lot of nonsense information in there, but he also explained, and he makes it very clear that you really cannot make any mistakes in index funds unless you buy it from a country, I don't know, like Greece, where the economy is super weak. Just take a look at the economy. Like countries like Germany, France. They're a very good Asian index funds, like maybe Japan, something like that. America for sure.
Isn't
Canada.
isn't that a logical bias though? Like if someone's really good at something, you should listen to whatever they say about it.
You
Isn't
think that
that
is wrong?
isn't that called a authority bias or something? Argument of authority or something?
But isn't that more like okay, that person is very successful at something, and you ask him something about something else?
No, I think it
That's
applies even for that subject because they could still be wrong. There's still some probability that he's wrong, basically.
But if that guy's wrong in what he's doing every single day, then I don't know who should be right. I
Fair
guess.
enough. I think you can look at the history of perhaps the S&P as well if you want more. I think it hasn't fluctuated that much in the past 100 years or so, right?
Yeah, I mean, it fluctuated. The max I think was like 40% down, and in 1 year or 1.5 years,
Okay.
and but it had a lot of years where it went up. Like there's basically like one down year for every 5 or 4 up years, something
Okay.
like that. And you don't even need to pick timings. That's one of the biggest thing that people do wrong. I actually forgot to mention this, and they talk about this in a lot of investment books. You cannot pick the right timing. This is an illusion. And even thinking that a guy like Warren Buffett or anyone else or George Soros or whoever can do it is a complete illusion that these guys never even said, but we think they can.
Yes.
So
Didn't Buffett bet against the best hedge fund managers in the world that they couldn't beat the S&P 500?
yes, yes. He was willing, I think, to invest like $1 million or even more. That they could not predict the next downside,
Mhm.
something like that. And no one accepted the offer because obviously no one can.
Yeah. So
So,
trying to so shouldn't that just deter people? Why should the average person watching this stock pick then if Warren Buffett's betting against the best hedge fund managers in the world?
is that a question?
Yes.
Because I thought that would be the answer actually.
Well, why should they do anything but index funds when there's just when Warren Buffett doesn't think the best hedge fund managers in the world can beat index funds?
Oh well, the thing is, if you spend all your time in picking funds and stocks, then yeah, you should do stock picking instead of index fund. Index fund is basically for someone who really does not want to spend any time in researching. For example, what this man is doing, which I guess a lot of people confuse because they think, okay, so let's start with this maybe. When you think about the stock market, there,
Yeah.
how do you think people make money when they buy stocks?
From other people who
Yeah, but
sell.
how does that work? When do they make money?
When people sell before they should, if you're buying a stock.
So you're buying cheaper than the value.
Yeah.
Okay, but do you basically the stock is worth $10 and you pay 8, knowing that it's worth 10, right?
Yeah.
At that moment that you're buying, it's basically worth. It doesn't matter if its true value is 10.
Yeah.
Okay, so when do you start to make money?
When the stock goes up and more people buy.
Okay, so but is there a chance? Let me ask you: is there a chance that the stock goes even further down?
Yes.
Okay, so when do we start to make money? If if it goes up, right?
Holding, right? When we hold the stock.
Well, when we hold the stock, and if it goes up, it could be there is, for example, one stock that is a very good example for this. There's the biggest German communication company, like AT&T, basically, in Germany, and the stock did not go up or not even significantly down for the last 7 years.
Okay.
So the stock's value at that time was something like 35 euros, and it was at like 9 euros, and it's still around between 8.90 and 12 euros for the last 7 years. And everybody's saying, no, it's worth 35, it's worth 35 for the last 7 years. So Warren Buffett knows this. He knows that there's no guarantee that this thing is going up. So the way he makes money, and this is the genius side of all this, and this is what a lot of people are misunderstanding about stocks and about investing at all, is that he makes money while he holds stocks. So, for example, dividends would be
Uh,
one way.
uh-huh.
Okay, so if you, for example, let's just say you buy stocks with a dividend of $1 per stock. So if you buy per year, this is per year. So if you buy 10,000 of them, you get $10,000 every single year, and it doesn't really matter what the stock is doing. If it goes up or down, you don't care because the stock gives you 10,000 every year. That's all you care about. And this is the same thing Warren Buffett is doing. He's doing it in a bigger scale, obviously.
Do,
But
do stocks pay that high of dividends? $1 per share?
well, think of it. It's not about the money per share. It's about the percent per share that's important. If the stock costs you $300 to buy, $1 is nothing, so
Yep.
you wouldn't buy it. But if you like get like that stock for like $15 and it pays you $1, that's a lot. It's a really high ROI.
Okay, so I get that. So you think the amateur person should go into stock picking rather than index funds because of dividends? Is that what you're saying?
No, you should definitely go into index funds if you're an amateur.
Okay.
Because index funds you cannot really make many mistakes, and you also get dividends if you choose the right index funds.
Oh, okay.
You
Yeah.
know, there are index funds where they copy the index fund, they copy a index fund, and you know that then they disguise it as an index fund.
Yeah.
So the only thing you really need to do is just take a look at who's the biggest, company that sells index funds. Just go there, buy index funds there, and that's it. You will not never have problems. You know, just read some forums. Just one night, spend like 4 hours. That's it. Read forums, read what they have to say about the company, and if the company is competent, buy index funds there. Um, but if you want to stock pick, you really need to invest a lot more than 4 hours.
Okay. So I'm not sure if you would address my question because Warren Buffett says no one is what he's saying is that no one can beat the index 500 with stock picking by picking their own stocks.
No, basically, it is hard for if you are a person, you could beat it. But if you are a company like a fund, you
Okay.
cannot beat it because you have to be invested. That's one of the rules of having a fund. You know, you have to be invested. I think it's the minimum in the United States, but I'm not sure about this number. Is 20 companies,
Mm.
and you cannot have more than, I don't know, 10% in one company. It's something like that. You can get this information online. It's official. So if whatever happens, you know, if the money if the index fund goes down, so if the index goes down, sorry, then they're gonna lose money, and they cannot take their money out of the market. This is part of having a fund. That's why they cannot beat the index. They have to be very, very lucky.
I see. I thought it was because no one can do better than 8% and stock picking is just way too difficult and the game's rigged or whatever.
Oh no, this is only for the professionals. They just cannot beat it. It's just really, I mean, it's possible, but you need. It's just super complicated, even for them, to do this.
It just to me it seems like a waste of time for the person who knows nothing about investing to try and do better than index fund.
Yeah, and also, why should you get into this? Don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, just play poker. Just don't care about this. Just invest the money in what the best people in the world invest into.
And it's
Just
very
play.
simple, right? You just we never talked about automatic payments, right? It's just I hate being the one talking about money because I'm fucking terrible about it. So I'll be about automatic payments.
You got better. You got better.
I've gotten better only because of you. You're the best. Go ahead.
Thanks.
And one thing I would like to mention, Pedro, is earlier you were talking about how a lot of poker players tend to be interested in things like staking rather than traditional investments. And one of the things about staking is that it's not really a passive investment if done properly. Where you said a few minutes ago, if you just park all of your money in an index fund, you can spend 4 hours identifying a decent fund and then just leave your money and kind of forget it. But with staking, you kind of have to spend a lot of personal time either researching your investments, or if you have a stable, spend time coaching, reviewing hands, that kind of thing. Whereas with an index, you can kind of just throw your money in there and play poker.
Yeah, but the thing also about the staking is that's actually good because you have so much knowledge about what you're doing. So spending a lot of time, you know, like reviewing hand histories, talking with them, being active in that area, you know, is actually very, very good for you and very beneficial. So you could get a better ROI out of staking than you could from you know, index funds or stock picking or whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
I think he was saying, yeah, but the hourly is way different, basically.
No, yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Basically, index funds are 100% passive investments, so you don't really have to do anything. So maybe if you want to use the 100K rule like you talked about and to make sure you have that amount in something like an index fund, it might be a better idea to do that and then spend future investments on other things such as staking.
I don't know if you can answer that. It depends on every person, you know. Like I would never put that into staking because there is a risk. That's like basically the only reason. Even if you're the best staker in the world, you know, the only reason that I would not invest the money into staking is if it's my first 100K.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So if it's the second 100K, man, you can do whatever you want with it, whatever makes you happy.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Only for those rules that I explained are really only for the first 100K, because I think that's where 99.5% of people that you know are making mistakes. It's the first, because the next one you can light up and fire if you want. You know, the next 100K. If you want, that's cool, because the next 1st of January, your bank will give you a check of $8,700 again, and then you have the same problem. What do I do with this money? Should I burn it again? But you never have the problem of, man, how am I going to pay my bills? So,
what about getting staked? Do you think most players shouldn't be staked, or do you not have an answer for that? Is it too relative?
Yeah, I don't have a clear opinion on that. I've been thinking about this often because I get asked that question often.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it works so well because I realize that I work a lot more effective when I'm getting staked. I'm very nervous when I'm not getting staked, because nowadays I play pretty high, play like average $100 or something, compared to 2 years ago I played average $12 sit and goes.
Yeah.
So you know, like, getting into downswings makes me very nervous when it's like my own money. So I cannot answer that. It just really depends on the person.
Yeah,
it's different for everyone.
I guess what's interesting too is that you have the option to play lower on your own, and perhaps games you win, and then you get staked for higher, and then be in games where you don't win.
Yeah.
Which is pretty bad, and it's probably something that people have done a lot. You know, they jump from low to mid stakes through a staking deal, and they can't beat mid stakes.
Yeah, sounds like me. Yeah, though I got really good at it really fast, also because of you. You made it very clear to me that playing in the wrong games, like really tough games, just makes no sense and you burn money.
Yeah.
So I got to filter myself on SharkScope. I'm pretty sure that every poker player knows that site. So you can filter what games you're winning in and what games you're losing in, and then just compare. So compare buy-ins, compare like hyper-turbos versus turbos and non-turbos. So just compare the different structures and then just see on which website you are winning. You know, like, am I winning on PokerStars? Am I winning on Party Poker? Whatever. And you get a lot of information of yourself when you do that.
Yeah, I was coaching someone who's on a 200K downswing, and we filtered by buy-in, and 200 and up, you know, he's getting destroyed. He's down. Almost all of his negative is from the big buy-ins. Then we look at buy-ins, like 20 to 100, and his ROI is like 30%. You know?
Yeah.
And after that, he's just like, okay, I'm not gonna play those tournaments, you know. And since then, he's going deep a bunch. He's feeling really confident in his game. He binked some turbo recently, and I think that's something everyone can do. And the multi-site thing, I don't think is underrated. I think if you're losing at a site, it's not just variance. I think all sites play kind of differently.
I would agree with that a lot, and that's something I've actually done recently. Is switch to playing exclusively on one site because I was having problems on some other ones, and it's been very.
Which site did you choose?
I'm in the U.S., so I'm just playing Bovada now.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is also, if you, for example, just choose PokerStars, I mean, we have a good friend, I don't know if you know him, Jamie, and he chooses to play very early, the early schedule basically, so very small fields. And even on PokerStars, he plays the small fields, and basically his graph is very constant. There are no big downswings, no big upswings, just constantly making his money. And yeah, this sounds even, you know, this sounds very, very good for a lot of people, especially when you're in downswings. Just consider playing a few early day schedules and just see how you do, and you will realize that it's actually really that you're playing in very tough games because you will start winning. unless you're a terrible poker player.
Yeah.
All right, dudes. I actually have to go. Really enjoyed
Sure.
this. Thanks for your time, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Hopefully you can be a regular guest and we can talk about lots of other stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this was great.
Whenever you guys are interested, I hope it helped. I love to talk about these things.
Yeah.
I do have one quick question I'd like to squeeze in.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
Pedro, I was wondering, when you play poker sessions, do you have a set pre-session routine? And if so, what is that like?
I only have that on Sundays. When I play during the week, I don't really have that because I go to the beach, chill a lot. But on Sundays, I have a routine where I stay in front of my laptop for maybe like an hour before I play and just listen to like Arnold Schwarzenegger speeches, Sylvester Stallone speeches, like my favorite speeches basically.
Okay.
And I just lay there in kind of a meditative state and just listen to it for 1 hour. And since I've done that like a year ago, I just really don't have that many tilt issues while I play anymore, which I think is very, very important, especially on a Sunday.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I'm familiar with the Arnold Schwarzenegger speeches. I have not heard any of Stallone's speeches, so I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, in the last Rocky movie where he talks to his son.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah.
5-minute speech. It's awesome. Absolutely.
Cool.
Did you just say the last Rocky movie is awesome?
I liked it. Yeah, I liked it.
Okay.
Better than the first.
We'll end it on that note. Thanks.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for this. And
All right. Thanks, Pedro.
have an awesome day. Yeah, sure. I'm nice to meet you, though. Bye.